CD. It's gonna be 5 at the door. Alright. Alright, you're good. You go inside.
Hi everyone. I have two wonderful people from a band with more than 2 words, more than 4 words. I think it's noise beneath the floor. It is 4 words. It is specifically 4 words. What's up, Jade and Gavin?
Hey, what's up?
Hello.
Hey, so it's nice to meet with y'all. Y'all had reached out saying that you had this new thing you wanted to talk about, and I got done listening to your old record, A Year in Exile, which it's funny. I've been listening to just so much Midwest emo. I've been talking to new bands and all this stuff, and y'all's sound is so close to this indie thing that I have been missing for so long. I've been doing this pop punk emo Midwest thing, twinkling guitars. This is slowed down and it's nicer and it's bigger and it's grander and it's just so cool to listen to.
Thank you.
We really appreciate that.
Yeah, there's something very close to Arcade Fire to it. There's something early 2010s. There's God, what's the Beautiful Place and I'm No Longer Afraid to Die.
Lots to talk about there for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. If that's the band then that you guys are basing it off of, then I'd fucking see it.
So, I mean, I'd be happy to talk about Year in Exile real quick if you want.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's kind of go through how y'all met, how everything started. Would love to hear kind of the story.
Now, I've been thinking about how to consolidate our history into the shortest thing possible because it can get really tangenty. So I'm going to
totally
it, and Jade can fill in if she feels necessary. When I was in high school, I had a band that sucked. You don't have to worry about it. But I had a show in Columbus, Ohio, where the rest of the band didn't show up. So I just showed up by myself, and Jade came to the show, and at a certain point it was just me. I didn't have a set list. I didn't know what I was doing, so I was like, here's a song I'm gonna play. Does anybody, I was just coming up with it off the top of my head. I was like, does anybody want to sing it with me? So Jade did. Oh, she's got the picture.
Shut up!
A picture of us at the first time we ever met.
So is
that my
god. This would have been, I think, January of 2017. No, because I moved up north 2018.
Okay, cool. So yeah, so that's the foundation of it. Fast forward, that band's falling apart. The two of us decide to do a duo project together. So she comes to stay with me to record it for a week, ends up moving in, joins the revamped version of that band, and that band turns into Noise Beneath the Floor circa 2019.
Cool.
And so in an in-between stage, it was going to be the second record for that first band, but it turned into the first Noise Beneath the Floor album. We go to Connecticut in August of 2019 to make A Year in Exile with Chris Teddy from The World is a Beautiful Place.
Oh, shut up. Okay.
It's very intentional. We make that album really collaboratively together over the course of 11 days. It's locked and loaded. We're ready to release an album in 2020. Hopefully go play a bunch of shows. COVID hits, shuts everything down.
Yeah.
I go through a year-long bout of writer's block, just kind of lost in it. Don't write anything. Somehow got to think about how to promote this album for this band while the world seems like it's coming apart. And at the same time, I don't know if I'm going to continue doing this after this point. So a year out from A Year in Exile getting released, which happened in August of 2021, which marked 2 years past us recording it.
Oh, wow.
I finally am able to write the first song in a year, and that was Wasted Potential off of our new album. So the story of the release of A Year in Exile is vital to the context of the material of the new record. So
that's really interesting. It's like the pages of are folded together in like this really, really cool way of like this one old book and this new book. It's really, really kind of cool.
They're definitely in conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's so for me, for Gavin, this is like something that has kind of flowed like over the years. But for me, obviously, it's very different. Because that picture that I showed you, like from the first night that we met, the reason I was even at that show is I'm actually from Columbus, Ohio. And I was going to college there. I was going to college with someone who went to school with Gavin. They're like, hey, I want to go see my friend play. I was like, no thanks. I don't want to do that. I literally was like, told me the band name. I was like, nah. And so she begs me to go. I eventually am like, okay, whatever, I'll go. So I go to this show, and it's just this skinny kid with a guitar. I'm like, okay. And she's like, I don't know what's going on. She's like, let's talk to him, right? We talked to him. They're explaining, oh, my, these things happened. My band didn't come, but, like, I'm still here. We're still going to play the show. I'm like, okay, cool. Up there playing like guitar or whatever. I asked them to play a song that I had actually just recently gotten into, which is Everything Is All Right by Motion City Soundtrack.
Sure.
I had to remember what the band was called because I remember just thinking about the picture. And they go, ooh, I don't know if I can remember all those words. I'm like, that's so crazy. Here they are on my phone. So that picture started from me standing there holding the phone so that Gavin could see the lyrics. And then we ended up singing songs together. So it's like this weird little, like, I don't know, felt like a moment that was going to create the rest of the timeline that, you don't know that it's a key moment.
Sure.
Until something else happens. Like, the paths could have gone so different. We could have not made music together, and that would have just been a thing that I remembered. Like, oh, I sang with somebody on a stage one time, but instead, it's like the foundation of like how we got here today.
It's this weird meet cute. Like it's a very, very musical, like DIY meet cute at a venue. It's like fucking wild.
And that's the story of our band. We needed a random show. We got our bass player from Subway.
Yeah.
Like it's
It's actually really funny because Gavin, the chaos that they are, convinced both of us, the bassist and me, to quit our jobs at the time that we really hated. We were working in food. And they were just like, yeah, you know what? Just leave. And I did. And then 2 weeks later is when I was going to go up, record this like EP that we were making together, which sadly we never got to finish. And I'm sitting up there and I'm like laying on the grass. Because, I'm from the city. This is out in the country. I'm like, bro, I can see the stars. I said, man, wouldn't it be crazy if I just lived here? And then, like, his dad was like, yeah, you can live here. I was like, oh, okay, cool. I live here now. We went and got all my stuff. And when I moved in, and I just lived in this big house with Gavin's family. And we just start making music. So I just joined, I kind of join in with the old band. Not really, like, having clear footing. Gavin's like, hey, play these things that I can't really play because I'm playing the guitar, so I'm playing the synth. I start singing some backup vocals. And, like they said, that album, it would have been the second album for that band. We brought that and kind of just during that journey, we kind of made the decision, actually, let's kind of cut ties with that and let's do something new. And so this next album, we kind of go into that with we know who we are now. Instead of like being the remnants of the old band.
Sure. It's like, listen, you had to it's like sometimes you have to burn that bridge in order to like let it shine the light in front of you in a weird way, where that's really, really cool to like know that what you had to do in order to survive and make this new thing that both of you obviously seem that you were obsessed with. Like you had to like literally burn that bridge. That's so interesting. And then I'm glad that both of you knew it too. You're like, we can see this forward. We just need to just do this.
Yeah.
And so, at a certain point, we weren't like halfway through making A Year in Exile, probably day 5. I hadn't seen the sunlight. I actually never saw the sunlight.
I was gonna say, actually, Gavin never left the dungeon.
I mean, we're just in it in the trenches, and God, go listen to The World Is, because I owe them everything, and we owe Chris from that band just everything for keeping us together. And it was Chris who first said it to me, of like, this is a new thing, like, and you need to make it that. So that was a really difficult thing to make, but it opened up everything.
So
Oh, I was gonna-
Go ahead.
Imagine you go in as one band and halfway through the producer's like, "You're not that band anymore," and so you come out.
That's fucking crazy. Like it's really crazy to me that like did you guys have a bunch of stuff like recorded and then homie was like, nah, it's got to be this different thing? Or did you guys do a couple songs and then realize those weren't going to make the record? You wanted to do this other thing?
It's a weird thing. I went in to make the same album with the same songs, with the same title, in the same order. And we did that. But the context changed entirely and the way it was dressed changed. And it's hard to explain in retrospect what happened there, but we made the same record, but it was like we pulled the foundation out. And in the process of making that record, we reinvented entirely and decided like this was a good point to start again.
It was almost like this unspoken thing. Like you felt it. Like it's me, Gavin, and our bassist, and we're all there. And it's like, ooh, something's different. Right? Like these are the things we've brought. They're demos. We've obviously already written and played these songs, but as they're becoming actualized, and we're putting the stuff in and can hear Chris working on them through the walls, mostly with Gavin because Gavin had, the most to do for the record. Can hear it changing. You're like, this isn't what we were just doing. Like this is something else now.
Would you say that like what were the main things that were like changing? Was it like speeds changing, context changing, like parts changing at all?
It's hard to even remember. It's been it's
yeah, like butterflies don't remember when they were a caterpillar, kind of, or I think they actually do, but like the metaphor still kind of works. Like
I have specific things because I wrote, because like I play like the synth, so a lot of my stuff is very reliant on the rest of the song existing, because I can't really make a nice little one-off melody if I don't know what everybody else is doing. And so because we came in with like demos that weren't really done, some of my things I was writing like with my headphones in like Ableton Live in the living room while Gavin's in the other room recording. Like I'm making the parts while we're there in Connecticut. And so I think like as I'm writing those parts, I was feeling like, okay, this is different because I didn't really do that for the old band. Because I came in so late. So now I'm sitting here 10 hours away from my home, like making something. And I'm like, okay, right? Something's weird about this. So like when we actually had the conversation, we were like, yeah, you know what? Maybe we're going to do something new. It just felt like a natural progression for me.
Cool. Yeah. It's like it's like the door was like open and you were like, wow, I've already stepped through. And this is this new room. I kind of didn't even notice it. That's cool.
If anybody's listening to this, they're probably going, yeah, that's what making an album's like. Dipshit.
Yeah, I think that's a very specific thing. I have never experienced the part where you're like you come in with demos and then you kind of make them big with a producer, with the recording people. I've never done that before. 11 days sounds like a crazy experience. I usually but the way that I write for 95 Corolla is like I write the whole song. And then I give it to my other guitarist who's like our mixer and masterer, where I just start laying stuff down and then we just start like I'm like, oh, the drums should be like this. Like he'll write the drums because he's just better at writing drums, but I usually write everything else. And I'm like, okay, yeah, what does everyone think about this? And then that's when everyone starts like doing their little thing. So like coming into let's actually talk about that. When you go into a recording session that you've booked and you've booked like this whole almost 2 weeks thing, do you think that it's better to go into this kind of thing with the 75% of an idea, like per song, to let it like grow there? Or do you think that like a producer person of that, caliber is like he wants to add more of himself to the thing rather than like, oh, you just have these songs already done. We'll track them and ready to go.
Yeah. I mean, that's so project by project. you know?
Yeah.
And it's so band by band and what you want to do. I mean, I think ideally as a band, if you wanted to capture yourself the truest way possible, you would have a producer there as your quality control.
Sure.
You would have your songs 100% and you would have rehearsed them. And that's, you know, when you think a lot of the great albums pre digital music, you know, recorded to tape, that's what those are. You know, those are live performances. And what had happened to us, as a bit of context, is we finished an album, released it with the sessions with Chris already booked. He was already on board to do the projects. And that left us with like, so it's January of 2019 and we're recording in August and we have 0 songs written. So we need to write.
Yeah.
So it was speed racing and we didn't get done in time. So our songs are more half formed than I wanted. So we go in with the ideas not as firm as I think they are. And I'm really confident that I'm going to figure it out. And this is going to be like a genius moment. And Chris starts poking holes in everything. And go, this sucks.
Yeah.
Which I'm so grateful for, because as I was thinking about like how weird it was, like, you know, we were just making an album and the album changes. Like, that's fine. That wouldn't warrant a whole new band. We became such a better band that we changed, you know, the name and, you know, started over to aspire to like that level of growth every time. We wanted to start from that point and we wanted to kind of reintroduce. But, you know, it's just now, you know, if we're talking about like, you know, we made a record with Chris Teddy from The World Is. At no point that I feel like he was trying to add himself to the record. I more so felt like I needed help, and here's someone I know can do it, and I'm inviting him to please add more.
Yeah.
And he did.
No, he did. Chris made some really cool parts. I mean, you've listened to the album, so like that second half of like Carnivore was like Gavin and Chris sitting in, you know, the recording room, like
a 4-hour journey,
literally like just making noises, and they're like trying to figure out, well, what sounds the coolest. Like they're using a looper pedal and they're trying to figure out what sounds to like continue on. I remember having to come into the room because like for context, right? Like I have musical background like from school, right? I went to an art school. And so I like learned like this, you know, the circles and the music theories and whatever have you.
Sure.
Any that stuff. So they have to bring me in. They're like, "What key is this?" I'm like, "What do you mean?"
Funny.
Losing our minds in there.
They're literally trying to figure out why isn't this sounding like what key are we in, Jade? So I'm trying to figure it out. I'm like, "You're not in a key."
You were kind of like a trip mom. Like,
I think that process is the best example I can give of maybe why you would want to go with your work less done and at someone. I knew I was making an album called A Year in Exile with these songs on it, but they became completely different songs.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that happened like that. Our goal within this new album, What If I'm Always Going to Be This Way? It's completely self-produced.
Yeah.
The two of us, you know, made that record, and so that process, instead of being 11 days, was 4 years,
right,
to make songs, because we're having to work on it, get it all the way done, and then take 3 months off of even listening to it so that we can critically listen to it again and try to produce ourselves. This next record that we're going to go and make next year, which I'm dropping so much information.
Oh my God.
Surprise.
We're making another album, and I don't want it to take so long. So we've already, like A Year in Exile, we just finished an album, and now we're in that boat again of we have the session booked for like August of next year, and we need to write a whole record.
But to be fair, we have a better head start this time. We do have some songs.
This is great.
Decided to do the opposite and really try to get those songs 100% before we ever hit the room to see how that changes.
I would say like in terms of like demos versus like, you know, nothing. I think that it's kind of helpful to have, I don't know, like Gavin said, like less of it actualized, because, you know, in the experience of us writing this last and recording this last record by ourselves, you get attached to those demos. Like
Get
when
that
that's
demoitis.
when you're hearing them over and over again, you're like, yeah, this is a song and I love it. So then when you change it and you forget about it, you go and you're doing whatever for 3 months, you come back and you listen to it and you're like, I don't remember First One Down sounding like this. You'll forget
We
that
got
it
some
sounds like
arguments.
that. Like, yeah, no, I come into the room, I'm like, that's so crazy. Where did the song go? Because you're making this thing. It's like a little baby, So the baby's growing up, and you're not used to it. So I think like if you're going into a studio, that it is better to have less of it kind of formed, so that you don't have as much attachment to changes that need to be made. Because right, that's the role of a producer. Like that's what Chris Teddy did for us. Like he's like, hey, here are the things that I think are really good, and here are the things that I think you guys can improve on and you need to change for this record to really make sense. Like there's a couple songs that we just completely chucked while we were there. One of them we redid and we released that on this past album.
Yeah, on this new album.
Yeah, sorry, not the past one. The one that
Cool.
and then one of them it's gone forever. And it was one that I really liked, but it wasn't working. But if you're so attached to something, and I was really devastated. I was like, oh man, there goes that song.
We had a song. It was gonna be. You heard A Year in Exile. That song at the end of the year, used to be 9 minutes long, and it was 2 songs.
Oh wow!
So it's got that like beginning part, and then it stops, and then it's got the loud part. It's the intro to the first song and the outro to the second song, and the whole song was called Galaxies. And I remember the moment where we're like 6 hours into trying to make it work, and Chris looks at me and he goes, "Fuck Galaxies." Fuck Galaxies. Yeah. And so that song's this.
So when you've got something like that and the producer's like, yeah, this one isn't cutting it, that sucks. You know, live with that. So I think it's better to just have, hey, here's half of an idea. Help me finish it.
Let's figure this out.
You guys y'all are really making the case for it. I would absolutely say y'all are making the case for like, listen, go, get a person that wants to record and experiment with you. Because I think that, first of all, the memories are better. I think that it's the creation there's something like very ethereal about sharing that space with someone that's really accomplished in that space. Now this new record, give me some information about it. When's it coming out? You had said what it's called, but you gave me also 100 million things. So what is it called and when is it coming out?
To anybody listening to this, I'm sorry for my rants. Mine, slow things down. Here, this is going to be real bullet point. New album, our second album. What If I'm Always Gonna Be This Way? Out November 13th everywhere. Pre-orders are up now for it on cassette and on vinyl. I'm getting some questions about this. It will come out on CD. I just really hate CDs.
I get it.
I have this debate with Lonnie from the Acid Flashback constantly, because she's such a great advocate for CDs as a platform. So when this comes out on CD, you can thank Lonnie, because she's the one that won me over on CDs being worthwhile.
I want it to be known that at a thrift store once I saw just like a case of like blank CDs and like those stupid little CD cases and like the jeweled ones, right? And I brought them home and Gavin was like, we're never using those. So it looks like they're going to get some use now.
That's the best way. All right, listen, as someone that like burned a bunch of CDs for like my band stuff, and like that's what I was doing for, when I went on tour, it's kind of fun because I think it is fun. They're like, there's something really goofy about it. It's like, I think cassettes are
ones, but he was using those stupid little cardboard sleeves for his old band.
I like this bullshit.
I like cassettes more than I like CDs, but it doesn't mean I don't like CDs. And that's really pretty. That's really pretty.
I do love CDs, honestly. It was just you've got limited money to produce multiple formats, and we went to this time.
It's free
for us. And so
ripping CDs.
When you've
what do you mean?
Gotta produce things, I had to pick which ones I was most excited about. This album's probably going to come out on VHS later.
Fuck it, dude. Do it. Dude, just put it on as many things as possible.
Gavin is definitely the reason that we do really any kind of physical releases for our music, because they are the kind of person that likes those things. We've got an entire like little square 4 shelf from IKEA that I put together full of records, literally like to the brim. Each one is full because Gavin likes those things, right? Like likes to collect things. Got them a record player like for Christmas or birthday.
It's not real.
Like
it's the old one, bro.
I get it. I get it.
But like, so the cassette thing, we did with the first album, A Year in Exile, and I really wasn't like expecting that to matter to people, I guess. And so when we took the extras that hadn't been pre-ordered on Bandcamp and I brought them to a show, they sold out in 3 seconds. Like they were gone. I had like 8 of them and they were gone. And I was like, oh, okay, people like this. That's so. Who has a cassette player? Who plays cassettes? No. I haven't even heard the album front to back on the cassette player. I don't know what it sounds like.
It's crazy.
I'm sure it sounds
it's
insane.
A different edit. I didn't tell anybody this. It's a different edit of the album. It is different on the second half, and I don't think anyone's ever heard it, so they wouldn't know.
But so I guess we'll do that again for the second one, and then this will be the first time that we're pressing vinyl.
That's the big thing
for our music, which is the big thing, which I'm pretty excited about, because I don't know, there's something so cool about the way that music sounds from a vinyl. It's got the like that noise that you can't really get anywhere else and be like, yeah, that's fine. Like people, we're so used to digital music. Everyone wants everything to sound so nice and clean. But I love when Gavin puts like a Manchester Orchestra record on the player and you can hear just that like the room noise. The room exists and you can hear it in the like grooves of the vinyl, which I just think is so interesting. And like you have to like, it's something you have to take care of, right? Like the same thing with CDs, even though like, Gavin thinks of CDs or whatever, like you have to take care of those too. They get scratched up. You're not gonna be able to hear the music anymore. It's so interesting to me that we could take something and we've put it into like a disc and there it is. There's the music. They make sound. Like that's crazy.
I think that there's something that I really, I can't, maybe it's just because I think there's stuff that I just focus on when I listen to music that's just different. When I put on a record or if I'm putting on something through my phone, I'm not thinking about quality differences. I just want to hear those parts that I like. And
right.
that's like the stuff that I'm always like really, really into, especially when it comes to writing music. It's like, I want to write cool parts. There's not like this moment where I need it to like sound good. I just like want to like, when I was a kid, whenever there was like a cool part, I would just sit and rewind and play and rewind and play just that part that I love. And like, that's when I write music, that's just all I want people to do is just like, I want people to can't wait for a specific part. And so I need to I think I need to sit down and like listen to a record that I like on a shitty speaker. And then I need to do it on a fucking record player just so I can like actually respect the difference. Because I'm a collector. I like collecting things. I like to hold stuff in my hand. I just started a VHS collection. I collect tapes. I'm doing all this stuff, but it's not via a respect of the actual medium. It's just because I like fucking holding shit and I like the art.
What I like about vinyl, and this is really it, besides the fact that like CDs degrade and, digital formats are perfect. So, if we're talking about preservation now with SSDs, like that's going to be fine. So I don't even look at vinyl from a pure preservation standpoint. It's that when I'm listening to something digitally, which I love, I'm not a purist at all. When I'm listening to something digitally, I can skip around or I can focus on something else. And I have a tendency to respect the album as a format if I'm listening to it on vinyl, and I put it on and I sit down and I pull out all of the materials that came with the record and I unfold the poster and I'm looking at the liner notes. Or Manchester Orchestra does these really great releases for their albums where it's like a book with the and you open it up and it's like bound and you've got the records in it and you've got lyric sheets and it's just like this experience. And I just flip the page for each song and I'm reading the lyrics and I'm respecting the format of the album. The album is so important to me. I think the reason I make music is to make records. And it's why I struggle with whenever we start to have those conversations of like, should we just all, switch to singles and it would be more economical to not make records and just like, I'm sure you've had these conversations like,
sure.
So like putting all the songs together. And I don't think that we focused enough on like your band's great. And also you said something earlier, you weren't focused on like parts sounding good, but like they do sound good. So just let me put my 2 cents in there.
Shut up.
Right. So like you got best of both worlds on that one.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
I was going to say Gavin struggles, that's what we kind of experienced with this last album. Is Gavin's making all these cool parts and they're like, yeah, I love this. And then you hit play and it's like, oh God, you can't hear any of it because everything's so crazy. One of our songs, I can't remember, it was the first one down. One of them just kept crashing. We couldn't even play it because there was so many things going on.
I'm very maximalist.
When you want it parts and you need it to sound good because you're mixing it yourself, it becomes a bit of a nightmare.
Yeah, that's something that like I get. So there's y'all have this thing. It's funny. My favorite record of the year so far is this band called Topre Creatures, who I'm friends with here in Nashville.
Those are our recording siblings.
Awesome. Yes, I was just gonna say because y'all both either recorded. Is it y'all recorded with the same guy, or is it just they recorded with the drummer? Is Teddy the drummer as well?
Chris Teddy is the guitarist for The World Is, but
okay,
he's
cool.
Also so every World Is record Chris has produced and mixed. So like, people say they sound really different from album to album, but he's done the production on all of it.
That's funny. No, it's there's something I've been really. I used to be very strip away. That's where the reality, the big stuff is when you take away everything. Where there's 6 guitars on the right and there's 7 guitars on the left, and let's strip away to like the bare bones of the best parts of it. And I think that like after listening to the Topre Creatures record, it's really important to just do as much as fucking possible. I think it's so crazy.
There's so many little, and the last time we saw them, we were playing a show together in Columbus, and we just like talked for like an hour over at our merch tables, like comparing our like recording processes and talking about all the little samples, and like that is attention to detail. That's an amazing fucking band.
No, I think that not only are they like, I think they're my favorite band here in Nashville. I think that there's something about their ethos that I'm really, really into, which is like them and Camden are like, we're all really, really good friends. Oh, hell yes, dude. Okay.
Don't work together.
There's this, Jade just showed a picture of all of them together when they were, is that in Columbus?
I was in Columbus.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. There's something like, I love that y'all know each other, and I think that it makes sense that I think y'all would like to play with Camden as well. They're really, really maximalist post rock, more on the Me Without You end, with like that, which is still really sick, but it's all y'all could tour together or like play some fest together. It would be so sick for y'all to connect with them.
What's the band name?
Camden, Khamsin. Jacob, the guy from there is like a really, really good person. And I know that Nashville's pretty tight knit. So I would definitely reach out to them just because they're just great fucking people and for you to know them.
Things together, it was going to be so funny to be like now, and then you go back to this podcast.
Yeah, I'm saying.
But I mean, isn't this what makes DIY work? And
absolutely.
Tweeted about this. You shared that tweet and you said like, how do I screenshot this and make it it's the Russian thing.
That's kind of just how important everything is. I started this podcast when I started making the band because I was like, I've got questions. These people got fucking answers. And I just I work in podcasting. So I'm like, well, I get to use my own tech products and then like actually explore all this stuff. And I can help promote bands and just do a positive thing for everyone. And I've learned so much. And the best part about it is that everyone gets to know everyone. Like that is the coolest fucking thing about all of it. So I wanted to ask, this whole thing is expensive. It's a selfish, weird endeavor that we all do. And it's so stupid. And none of us should fucking do this, but we're all absolutely insane for doing it. So the thing that I like to ask everyone is what do y'all do for your day jobs?
Oh, we're actually both managers in retail, which is a nightmare.
Oh my fucking God.
So imagine you're going to school, which is what I was doing during everything leading up to this.
And now,
now we're both in school actually, but I was in school the whole time. We're both managers in retail. We're going into holiday seasons, everything like this.
Oh, fuck.
we're shipping an album.
Literally
We're
trying
doing the press circuit.
Trying to do all the things. And then so, we did a tour in March this past year with Mudwhale, who we
love them.
Released A Year in Exile on the same day as their first album. We intentionally are releasing this second album on the same day as them.
I saw that tweet. That's so fucking cool.
We just think it's funny. It's like haha funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did pick up the album title. Gavin gave them options.
The release date, and they picked the album title, and we.
So we're doing that tour, and that takes a lot of planning. You're planning out a tour, you're planning out where you're gonna go. Like you need to figure out how you're gonna get there, and like things like that. And so we have this information months and months and months in advance. I get a new job, and I tell them, "Hey, I'm doing this thing in like 7 months," and they're like, "Okay, yeah, cool." And I can't request time off until I get closer to it because it's retail, right? They're like,
yeah, sure. Yeah, it's like you have a window.
To it. And I'm a courteous. I'm like, hey, I'm putting in this request. Remember, this is that thing I was telling you about. The thing that I spend all of my time outside of this job doing. And Deadass looks me in the eyes and she goes, yeah, I don't really know if we can make that work. And I was like, okay, so
yeah, sorry.
Figure it out. And so it's a whole nightmare thing. So as we're leading up to this, we're obviously really stressed. And Gavin keeps asking me about like, did I get the time off? And every day I'm like,
I don't know.
Finally, whatever. I do like the bare minimum. I'm not joking. Like the bare minimum. Take off like just the days that we need to be on the road and at the shows, and just the days for the next show coming back. So we drove to the shows, stayed in hotels, drove to the next show, and then drove home. Like literally all the way home from what was the last show we played?
The last show was in Indianapolis.
Indianapolis. We drove on my birthday. In Indianapolis, no one came to see us.
Oh no!
Show in Chicago. We drive all the way from Chicago to Indianapolis. No one.
It was 2 hours because we drive across the time zone, and we hit the daylight savings too. But it's just such a nightmare process. So I wish that we made more money off of this because I don't want to work in retail.
Pre-order.
Totally. Pre-order it all.
I can't remember the name of the fucking album. What if I'm always going to be this way?
Name dropping the old one.
Too many. I got long album titles. I got to stop.
All right, so I want to play a song from the next record. We got about a minute left, just for the recording. What song would you like to hear?
Have you heard the next record yet?
No, I haven't.
Okay,
we could totally premiere a song from it on Friday.
You can. So let's do one that hasn't been released yet. Do 15 months.
Yeah, do 15 months. It's
15 months. Okay, cool. This is 15 Months by Noise Beneath the Floor.
It's been 15 months since everyone I knew disappeared. And it's been 10 whole days since I went outside and found the sun's glare. And I know it's not what you imagined. All these things just kind of happen. No, nothing's really happening at all. Nothing's really happening at all. What's even
y'all for joining me on this fun little podcasty times. Y'all are so cool. I try and play in Columbus as much as I can. Get your asses in Nashville. I'm going to see y'all in Columbus. We're friends forever now. Okay.
Connected.